Hi everyone, this is just a quick sort of tutorial on how to use TrueDepth and the new V3 update which dropped just a few days ago. So there's a whole bunch of new features in V3, but I'm just going to do a quick overview of the user interface for those that don't know how to use this add-on, and then we're going to jump right in. So first off, you're going to come up here and you can choose either CPU or GPU. On Macs, GPU isn't yet supported, but the CPU runs blazingly fast, so that's perfectly fine. But if you've got like an NVIDIA card or something on your PC, then I'd recommend using GPU. Next up, you're going to pick your model size. Now, I've already got TrueDepth installed, so I've already gone through the installation process, but we have introduced this new button here. So I haven't got the large model, and we've included this download model button. So you can just click that, and then you've got this little slider here which gives you the percentage whilst it's loading up. So that's all downloaded, and you can see we have all of them installed, the small, base and the large. Now I've worked with all of these three, and I'll be honest, I don't see a massive difference between them, but I just tend to use base for all my images. So we've got this new float 32 mode, which is going to give more accurate results for your depth maps. And if you want to go a bit faster, we've got float 16, but I'd recommend just sticking with this. We're going to be single image mode. We don't need to tick that, and we're just going to click open. And then we're going to navigate to a picture, and I've got this rock seamless texture here. So I'm just going to open that up, click generate depth map, and in just a few seconds you've got your depth map. And then we're going to click create mesh. So if we zoom in right here, you can see that we've got our finished result. And it doesn't look like much right now, but we're going to jump into the settings and tweak it so we get that photorealistic look that we're going for this particular texture. Obviously, this is going to massively depend on what you're trying to achieve, what picture you're working with, and what your end result is going to be. So for me, let's say I'm just working on an environment and I just wanted some rock textures in the background. This is something that I would do as an example. So first thing I want to do is click on the object, and then we're going to scroll down to the TrueDepth modifier properties. And the first thing we want to do to bring out the quality in the texture is turn up the levels viewport render. It's on 3 right now. This is 4, this is 5, 6. Now depending on your computer, you can go all the way up to 10. My computer starts crashing around 7 or 8, but I found like a sweet spot between 5 and 6 is fine. And then obviously when you come to render, you want to make sure that this number matches that. Next thing we want to do is modify the actual depth itself. So if you come down to strength here, I'm going to type in something like 0.25, and this is looking a lot better. And this will be textured, by the way, as well. So if we go to our render settings, go to rendered view, and add in a sun lamp, you can see that the texture is showing very nicely already. Turn that up a little bit. There we go. You'll notice that there's quite a few fine details here, if you can see all these little bits, and that is down to the color. And if we come down here, click on the object, pass strength, and come down to displace detail color, this slider controls this minor detail. So if I set this to 0, you can see that it goes completely smooth and we lose some of that high frequency detail. I like to keep this around 0.25 or lower, maybe 0.09. Again, you're going to have to play with this. It depends on what sort of photo you're using and the quality that you're going for as well. So if this is going to be far away in the render, I would probably set this to something even lower because we don't need that up close detail. But if the camera was close, then I'd look at setting it a bit higher, something like that. Next thing we're going to do, because we're not going to be 3D printing this, I want to get rid of this base, which is added by default. So you just come down to TD base and just unclick that. Another thing you can do is play with the bump. This is a rock texture, so it makes sense that there'd be quite a lot of bump. And you can see you can adjust, so that's no bump, maximum. I'll keep that around there. And because this is a rock, I would probably turn the roughness all the way up. Or if you want it reflective, like a wet sort of rock, you can play with this as well. There's a new addition to TrueDepth, and what that is we've got this new Make Seamless button here. So usually you would make your depth map and extrude your geometry like this, but the problem would be if you wanted to extend this tileable texture, you duplicated it and moved it over and lined up the lines as perfect as you can. The problem is the actual depth extrusion is causing them not to line up properly. So you could never make them truly tileable, and we've fixed that with this new Make Seamless button. With the original one selected, you can simply press Make Seamless, and you can see instantly that they both make some changes at the top and the sides. And you can see now that if we line these up perfectly, a bit more, the seam disappears and you've now got a fully tileable 3D texture. I'm just going to turn this off, so just to show you, revert. That's what it looked like before. See, they don't line up. Make Seamless, and now they line up. And you can adjust this. So if we click on here, revert, and turn up the vertical blend, click Make Seamless again, you can see it's a different effect, and you can see that one looks a bit more natural than the other one. Let's revert, turn it up a little bit more, Make Seamless. Now we've got something a little more realistic. Revert again, turn it up full. Now it's starting to look a lot more realistic, and of course everything is still affected nicely, and most importantly is those seams are invisible now. And this was just done in a couple of minutes. Imagine what you could do with a lot longer. Okay, moving on to the next feature of V3, and that is perspective mode. So what we're going to do is go through the same process again. We're going to open up, find our image, which is this one right here, which is just like a ballroom. We're going to click Generate Depth Map, and then we're going to scroll down and click this new perspective mode. Come down here and then Create 3D Scene. And what you can see is that it actually creates depth from the 2D image, but projects it from the point of view of the camera. Now if I just add a light in here and move it down the hallway, you can see that it actually affects the geometry now. Move that light back and forth. Now the first thing you'll notice right away is that the quality isn't very good, but that's fine. What we can do is regenerate this again with higher settings. So to do that, what we're going to do is click on the object, come down to grid resolution. Right now it's set to 256, and I'm going to do 256 times 8. Click enter. Now we're at 2048 grid resolution. I leave everything else the same. You don't really need to touch those. And then we're going to go delete this and then create 3D scene again. Now you can see that it's got a lot more detail. So you can see we've got all this detail, and if we go back into the rendered view and turn up this point, you can see that the light actually interacts with the geometry from the image, which is really, really cool. And if you scroll down here, you can actually click on the object and click Setup Camera Projection. And what that's going to do is add a camera right here and project the image exactly. So if we go to View, Cameras, Active Camera, this is what we're looking at. We are looking directly into the 3D model as the 2D image was taken originally. And if we take this point again, you can see what we can start to do with it. The light is interacting with true 3D geometry, which I think is really cool. And this works in Cycles and Eevee. Again, I'm just running this on a MacBook Pro. And it's just a lot of fun. And there's all sorts of things you can do with this. So it's a really powerful new tool for V3. And the last thing I want to show you is HDRI projections. Now this is really cool if you want to make actual volumetric environments out of your flat HDRI images. And to do that, we're going to go to Open again and find our HDRI, which is this one right here. And we're not going to click Generate Depth Map because we don't need that. Instead, we're going to go down to 360 degree. Make sure HDRI Studio is selected. And you can have a play with these beforehand, but you can adjust them live as well. But we're just going to go down and click Create HDRI Dome. And as you can see, we've got our dome here. If we go into rendered view, you can see that we have our HDRI mapped onto this dome here. Now it doesn't look perfect straight away. Some HDRIs will, others won't, but you just need to tinker with them to get them exactly how you want it. So I'm just going to add some geometry in the middle here, and we'll add Suzanne, our monkey. We can change a bunch of things on the dome. You can change the size of it. Maybe let's go 15, and then you want to change the capture height by dragging this slider up like so. You can change the horizon fit. And again, you're going to have a play depending on what HDRI you're using. And you can play with the ground spread, ground match, and the horizon fall off. And yeah, this is a lot of fun to play with. It will take some tweaking to get it exactly perfect, but you can get some really realistic results in just a few minutes.